Let's go ahead and get into the last thing I want to talk about tonight. A Dose of Buckley. I am not very familiar with this creator, though apparently there's a lot of people who really like him. As per usual, I don't want to talk shit about the creator. I want to talk about the ideas presented in the video that we're going to be going over. So, first of all, as usual, let's go ahead in the fan art section, and then we will start the Dose of Buckley video. So, this one was actually on the Suris Reddit, but the user does not seem to be there anymore. At least it says user deleted. So I do not know who is responsible for this artwork, but it is awesome nonetheless. So, I mean, I can't really say much more than that. As always, thank you for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be submitted and shown on the channel, best way to do so is generally to put it in the Discord channel, though sometimes I do find when it is elsewhere. Okay, so the video in hand we're going to talk about, now that we're done with all that, is about trigger warnings in video games. I, myself, am perfectly okay with trigger warnings in video games. They don't bother me at all. I've literally been playing the Resident Evil franchise my entire life, and that game opens up with a trigger warning. It flat out says this game contains scenes of explicit violence and gore. Like, forgive me for being very desensitized to trigger warnings in video games when one of my favorite franchises of all time has had them pretty much since its inception. Alrighty, let's go ahead and take a look at the video.
Warning. This episode of A Dose of Buckley may contain Buckley. Viewer discretion is advised. Also support the habit at patreon.com/doseofbuckley.
Or, alternatively, you could go ahead and support my channel by going over to Patreon as well, or subscribing, or following over on Twitch, or throwing a sub over on Twitch, or going to ddlgplayground.com and using one of those coupon codes. Coupon code Suris. Good work. Yeah. Okay, continuing on.
Video games have advanced in so many ways over the years. Not just in terms of graphical or technical capabilities, but in the stories they tell and the themes that they're willing to tackle. With Pac-Man, you were a big yellow dot eating smaller dots, and occasionally a cherry or pretzel, while being chased by ghosts in a maze. There's no more to it than that. Any story behind this, you had to create in your head. Like perhaps Pac-Man has been sent to hell for his sin of gluttony, forced to run and feed through never-ending mazes.
Okay, so far there's nothing that I'm really, contentious with.
Never allowed to stop or escape, and the ghosts are demons who torture him by painfully discorporating his soul if they catch him. At which point, he lets out his anguished scream.
I mean, that's at least a really good imagination.
There, now Pac-Man's more interesting, right? But at what cost? A man punished for his eating disorder? Hell? Demons? Torture? Well, now this needs a trigger warning, right?
Is it 2016 again? Are we back here? Are we... Really? Okay.
According to some people, yes. Yes, it does. Like everything on the internet, there's a small but vocal group of people who feel that game developers need to cater to their individual specific needs by warning them of every single possible thing that could cause them mental anguish while playing a video game.
So the actual tweet that's shown here is keep up the actual lack of updates and we'll start reporting tweets as spam. Some losers actually threatened to mark Nintendo's tweets as spam if they don't hear the news they want about Animal Crossing. Okay, yeah, I do agree that this is this is a level of crazy right here. But that's not exactly the same idea as having trigger warnings in games. If a game has a rape scene in it, I'd really rather prefer the game tell me that it has one for a couple of reasons. One, if I'm streaming that game on Twitch, I'd kind of like to know that that's a thing that might happen. Secondly, let's say that I'm somebody who, has dealt with that in the past. There are some very uncomfortable memories that can come back and be literally physically detrimental if I happen to experience that, even in an environment like a game. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a warning about that. But continue.
Recently, a game called Boyfriend Dungeon came out. An action RPG dungeon crawler dating sim where you form relationships with men or women who are actually weapons. It's an obviously absurd, over-the-top premise that couldn't possibly upset anyone. as generally speaking, no one has ever dated a boy who turned into a sword.
Okay, but people have dated other people. Like, you are aware metaphors are a thing, right?
Welp. Apparently, a bunch of people complained to the developer that they were triggered by things in the game. And
okay, so I'm just going to say this right now. Triggering is literally a medical term. Like, I know that I've used it flippantly in the past, and I probably will still use it flippantly in the future. But at the end of the day, like, when you get triggered for something, that is actually like a medical thing that's happening. Like, an anxiety attack is getting triggered, or a panic attack is getting triggered, or a breakdown is getting triggered. Like, that's a thing that is happening in reality. But I guess we'll just continue to make fun of that thing.
And so they tweeted that the content warning for Boyfriend Dungeon inadequately describes the events of stalking and emotional manipulation that exist in the story. We'll update the game next week with a more accurate CW. We apologize for any hurt inflicted by our mistake. Thank you for playing.
I don't see anything wrong with this. If your video game had, you know, stalking and emotional manipulation, and they were things that were happening, not like inside areas of the story, but things that you as a character or characters around you were having to do, then I am perfectly fine showing that. Again, something like a rape scene as well. Like, I'm okay with having a trigger warning in the beginning of the game because I don't see anything wrong with that. Does it come at a detriment to the game to have, like, a single screen before the actual game boots up that says, hey, this game contains the following? Like, it's not like there's spoilers there. You just know that, hey, this is material that I might encounter in the game. Like, there's no spoilers in a Resident Evil game when it says the game will contain scenes of explicit violence and gore. Like, am I going to say, oh my god, I had the part where I had to see Forrest's corpse in RE1 on that chair getting pecked to death by crows. Oh, that was so spoiled for me because I vaguely learned that there would be scenes of gore in this game. Oh my god. Continuing on.
And they updated the game's content warning at the start that explains that it has these things.
Yeah, it's a single screen. You experience it for half a second. What's wrong with that? The subtitle he's got here is, someone you don't want to date might try to date you. Trigger warning. Fucking hell. Okay, so this is something that actually happens to your character. I know people who've been stalked, and situations like this could literally cause them to relapse about shit like that. I don't see a fucking problem here. Like, what's the problem with showing this one screen?
Imagine being shocked that a so-called dating simulator, which simulates dating, might include some negative things that people have experienced while dating.
Right. Would you like to know another negative thing people have experienced while dating? Rape. That is a thing that has happened to people who have just wanted to experience a night with a person. And yet, that is still a thing that I think should have a trigger warning on it. I don't see any detriment to that. Like, what is there to actually be mad about here?
But also, it's about dating people who turn into swords. How can you honestly sit there and go, oh, this really sets me off because it reminds me of something that happened to me with a guy, and no, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Okay, so here's the thing. The fact that the aesthetics of the game has characters turning into weapons doesn't change the fact that within the universe of that game, characters are people. Like, I've watched Ellie on her channel playing Boyfriend Dungeon. It doesn't change the fact that the actual people you're dating are treated as people, not inanimate objects. So in real life, do you date people? Yes. Okay, cool. Then you might experience things in the game that relate to real life. Just because they happen to turn into swords doesn't mean it's not relatable. If the mere barrier of a metaphor is enough for you to suddenly not relate with things in a game, then maybe it's you who's out of touch with your humanity.
Some sort of magic sword man never stalked you in your life. It's fiction that's so far removed from reality.
Okay, but there are things that happen within fiction that are not removed from reality. Like dating, like stalking, like assault. These are things that happen in reality. The fact that characters operate differently in the game does not necessarily divorce it enough. You can have fantastical universes in the middle of outer space, and we are still going to graft our experiences onto those things as people. And at the end of the day, You need to explain to me what the downside of having a single screen that explains that there might be something that I'd experience in that game. Like, what does it do? What is negatively affected for me, the player? What actually hurts me as an individual buying this game to see that little warning?
But apparently, this doesn't even go far enough. One person says, and kidnapping and human experimentation. But this is definitely a step in the right direction.
Okay, yeah, cool. What's contentious about that? Like, yeah, some people might end up... people have been kidnapped in reality. People have had loved ones try to do... Especially people who are LGBTQ. There are people who have had loved ones try to find ways of curing the gay in them. Like, there's reasons why some of this stuff might end up triggering things, especially people who lived here in the South and have parents who are a little too conspiratorially thinking. It happens, and it's not as uncommon as you might think. But at the end of the day, like, just explaining that, hey, there are some things in this game that are, you know, a little yikesy, and just warning people about it. I don't know how many times I have to say that I just don't see that as a problem.
A person asks them if they honestly, truly expect them to list point by point everything that happens in this game on the pre-game content warning. Like, do you genuinely think this is reasonable or realistic?
But that's not what they argued. They said that there's also kidnapping and human experimentation. If your game only contains kidnapping, human experimentation, and, you know, scenes of stalking, then sure, they've listed everything that's actually happened in the game, but that's not what's argued here. That's not the conversation being had, my guy.
And they reply, I would have liked to know about human experimentation and kidnapping, so yes. And go on to list a bunch of other things they think should have been listed, asking, why are you pretending this is unreasonable?
Because it's not unreasonable. Again, Resident Evil has scenes of explicit violence and gore. There's a one screen at the beginning that says it. They explained in the tweet, like literally, kidnapping, drugging, human experimentation, intense stalking, emotional manipulation, implied domestic violence. Boom! There you go. Right there. One screen says those things. That's all your trigger warning has to have. Are you going to boot up the game, see that, and go, I hate this game! It told me bad things were going to happen in it! No, you're not going to do that. Because that's unreasonable. That's the unreasonable thing.
Because that's all the story. By telling...
That's not the whole story. I have no idea what happens in your game by you just telling me those trigger warnings. I have no idea.
People all of this shit. Where are the surprises? Like the moment you meet whoever the antagonist of the game is, you're gonna go, oh well, this is definitely the guy that's gonna try and stalk me, I guess, and at some point, I suppose, he'll kidnap me. Yay, now I know everything that's gonna happen to my character.
You still don't know everything that's gonna happen to your character. All those things are very vague. There are movie trailers that give away more of the plot of the movie than, or more of the plot of a story than this. And yet, people will still go see the movies. It's not a spoiler. Like, you can't... I'm sorry. I've seen this take since, like, 2013, when I was making this argument about how, oh, well, one of the reasons that I wanted to have a rape scene in my thing was I wanted it to shock the audience. So the spoiler warning in my game actually prevented me from shocking my audience appropriately, and I thought that was just really, really bad on my part. Like, I'm sorry. I don't give a shit if you wanted to shock your audience. I don't. Like, 2013 me said that. 2013 me was a fucking dumbass. And Dosa Buckley here is being a dumbass. I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing scandalous. There's nothing that's fucking you over from experiencing the story in your game because it tells you that stuff like that might happen. This game may contain these things. Okay, cool. I don't know the context in which they happen. I had to go out of my way to find boyfriend dungeon bad guy. I had to go literally looking for spoilers in order to find spoilers. Like, that's the other weird thing. Buckley, your point is that I have to go on the internet and looking for spoilers, and then I'll be able to piece together spoilers. Like, bitch, I'm already looking up spoilers at this point. At that point, it's on me, not on the fucking company for giving me a trigger warning.
Then what's the point of playing a game? Like, to me...
Gameplay? Games aren't just all about story. Your argument works better against a book, I think. But not about gameplay.
This would have been like if at the beginning of Reservoir Dogs, a big ol' warning popped up saying, "This film contains a torture scene in which a man gleefully dances around a police officer, slashing him with a straight razor and then cutting his ear off."
Okay, but that's not what they argued. We're at 3 minutes 58 seconds. Here, let me pull up their tweet. Like, you did the liberty of showing it here in the actual video. So, here, let's look at the actual tweet. Kidnapping, drugging, human experimentation, intent stalking, emotional manipulation, implied domestic violence. All that's very vague. What you had to do in your example here was word it like this.
Slashing him with a straight razor and then cutting his ear off before being shot by another man.
That's not how trigger warnings work, Buckley. The way, literally, the tweet you presented that showed their example of a trigger warning for the game did not have the level of detail that you used. Not only did you have to give a hypothetical example of somebody searching up who the bad guy in a game is, which is they themselves looking for spoilers to get your idea of what makes a spoiler, available for you. You had to completely be hyperbolic about what a trigger warning actually communicates in order to get to this point. Are there people who think that this is a reasonable take? Are there people that think that this logic is sound? Seems really fucking weird to me.
It also contains a scene of a civilian being shot by an undercover officer after they are shot by the civilian. A discussion of the true meaning of Madonna's "Like a Virgin," a man who is very...
You're going forward with this. I had no idea you would keep going. This point gets worse and worse the longer you extrapolate. Like, I'm sorry. This is not how a trigger warning works. What you're doing is creating a straw man and then arguing against that straw man. This is actually kind of pathetic.
Very stingy with tips. That's a content warning for the servers in the audience who might get triggered by customers who don't tip. And all but one person dies at the end of the film. Enjoy. Cool. Now I know everything that's gonna happen. That's exactly what I want when I consume entertainment. To have zero surprises.
Okay. So, is that how the trigger warning worked when the person communicated it in the tweet? No. If not, is this a good point? No. Still not. Continue.
But this person brags about how they're basically the anime fun police, how they write trigger warnings for anime that likely no one reads because it's on their Twitter account with 600 followers. They truly think they're in the right.
I mean, yeah. I don't think that they're in the wrong. Also, what does them having trigger warnings set up for other media and them having only 600 followers have to do with them being right or wrong here? Like, you can give me argumentum ad populum and say that they're wrong because there's fewer people that follow them than you, but that's not logically sound. You can say that they're wrong because they do this with other things as well, but that's not logically sound. I believe... God, what fucking fallacy is that? Fallacy of composition? Gonna have to figure that one out. That's a project for later.
Another person writes that it should include trigger warnings for a specific character breaking up with you, which I thought was maybe some sort of fucking joke, except they wrote it to like 10 different people.
Okay, that one, we can agree, is unreasonable. So, I'm gonna say this right now. That person is... We at least agree on this one, Buckley. Like, that is a specific story-related thing. Like, a trigger warning that says, this game contains scenes of forced sexual assault is different than a trigger warning that you described, which would be, this game contains a scene where character X sexually assaults your character at time Y with object B. That's the way you described a trigger warning. This, right here, fits in line with your straw man description. Congratulations, you found one. But the person you initially used that argument against was not being unreasonable. You also had to jump to a different person as well. Like, you had to actually grab a different person on Twitter and argue against them, piggybacked off of your previous point. Let me go ahead and tell you right now, if your point about a singular idea requires you to piecemeal individual disparate points from multiple other people in order to create your congealed mass that is a character for you to argue against, I'm sorry, I just don't find your point very ironclad then.
You know what I thought covered this? The fucking rating.
No, not really. So, okay. The rating system there says strong sexual content, use of drugs and alcohol, strong language, mature humor, nudity, blood and gore, intense violence. Okay, cool. That is not the same thing as showing that rating on the first screen of the game. I can ignore the rating of a game largely, and the rating of the game largely is also going to be based on what the ESRB does, which is also completely related to the geographical area I happen to live in. The ESRB isn't going to do anything for the UK, for instance. But the idea that rape is something that happens to people in the UK is the same thing that happens to people in the United States. Having a scene in the beginning of your game, a very brief thing that says this game contains not just strong sexual content, but scenes of sexual assault. That is different. But let's continue on.
Let's look at Grand Theft Auto 5, for example, rated M for mature, featuring intense violence, blood and gore, nudity, mature humor, strong language, strong sexual content, and the use of drugs and alcohol. There's your fucking trigger warning right there.
Okay, but if your game happens to contain other things, the ESRB is likely going to put them under umbrella terms. Like, when you say sexual content and I say scenes of sexual assault, these are different things entirely. And having, again, I don't know how many times I have to say it, a single scene in the very beginning of the game, a single frame that explains that there is a scene of sexual assault, or there is, in the case there, a scene of kidnapping. That's something that the ESRB is not going to factor into their ratings. The ESRB is not responsible for that. The ESRB has never functioned as a trigger warning for games. They've always been more of a guidepost for parents to decide whether or not content is appropriate for their child to consume. But trigger warnings are a thing that are useful for not just children, but adults. People who consume media and might not be in the right headspace, especially in a place like, say, a public theater, to witness a sexual assault happening on camera. Whereas, if they happen to have a trigger warning at the beginning, then they'll know that, hey, this is a thing I'm going to have to prep for.
Would seeing or experiencing any of those things in a game bother you? Well, not necessarily, but there are certain specific situations. I'll just stop you right there. The answer is yes.
Okay, but I am not offended by strong sexual content, but I might have a problem with a scene of rape. I am not offended by use of drugs and alcohol, but I might have a problem if they are being used by children. Like, you can't just say, when somebody tries, this is when somebody tries to bring nuance into the conversation, and you are just stopping the nuance from that conversation from happening.
And you shouldn't play this game. It doesn't need to tell you about the surprise torture scene with Trevor. That's covered in the intense violence.
Okay, but people have experienced intense violence in ways that does not necessarily trigger them, but if somebody has legitimately been tortured, that is something that could cause an issue. And just saying, again, a single frame in the beginning of the game that says this game might contain scenes of torture. Cool. Boom. That took 5 seconds of your life, and I'm sorry that those 5 seconds are very important to you. I'm sure that that's about, like you, like me, probably use that 5 seconds in order to climax.
The ESRB rating for Boyfriend Dungeon is T for Teen, containing fantasy violence, language, and sexual themes. If there are...
Wait, Silver Kappa, does that torture scene have trigger warnings on it? Wait, does it? I have not played Grand Theft Auto 5. Wait, hold on. I have to figure that out. GTA 5. Let's see here. Wait. GTA 5 does give you a full-on trigger warning before it happens. So wait, even his example uses a trigger warning? That's fucking hilarious. It was so jarring they put a warning in it, and then a later patch made it wholly skippable. Okay, cool. That's fine. Like, if they added it later out of outrage, then that's one thing. But, like, just the fact that it's there at all means that they, at the very least, didn't see that as an unreasonable decision. So his own example... his own example is of a game that uses a trigger warning for that. Okay, cool. That's hilarious.
Any sexual themes you can't handle that will actually upset you, you should not play a video game that lists that in the rating.
Okay, but if the sexual theme that I'm okay with is anything that doesn't include rape, and the game doesn't include rape, then I should be able to play the game, no problem. I don't see how that's an unreasonable take.
But man, you think these people are bad? Wait till you hear about this one.
Is his entire thing just grabbing people from Twitter that he disagrees with and getting mad at them? Because, I mean, don't get me wrong. I respect the hustle. I do the same fucking thing.
Square Enix fixed an icon in Final Fantasy XIV, an 11-year-old online game. An icon, some tiny little graphic in the corner of the screen sometimes, because they received feedback from players all over the world that the icon made them uncomfortable or fearful. This icon, it's, I don't know, 4 kinda wand-looking things, but they have holes in them, which triggers people with trypophobia, who apparently have a fear of closely packed holes.
Okay. That's, again, not unreasonable. It is a part of a game's user interface that has to be seen at all times, which would bar certain classes from being played. Like, I'm sure there are players who also ended up creating mods so they would be able to replace the icon. Like, how hard was it? How many man-hours went into fixing that? What, 1 maybe? Maybe 2? At the very most? They probably put in a fucking intern to take care of that? That took no time at all, likely. What's the actual problem? Are you just bitching to bitch?
Packed holes. Anyway, Healthline.com's example of the condition says people who see a strawberry could be triggered. Grocery stores, where are your trigger warnings? This grocery store may contain strawberries and Cheerios. Please keep your eyes on the floor in the produce and cereal aisles. Someone might...
Okay, but there is a difference between a cereal, or even better example, a fruit that you showed up, which is something somebody's going to have to deal with at all times, where they'll simply have to adjust to it, versus something in a video game, which takes, what? You just even pointed out, it takes only 10 minutes to do the change. But then it says here, that's not the point. The point is they shouldn't have to spend time reading forums to find out this was an issue or spent time fixing it. So you think they shouldn't have spent time fixing it? Again, what's the actual problem? If it took them no time to fix it, then what was the issue? Like, this is a non-issue. You're bitching about a non-issue. You are trying to make this into a problem so that your bitching is justified.
Might suggest that it didn't take an artist or developer much time to change the icon, and maybe it didn't. But why should they have wasted any time for the very small handful of people who A, have this very specific phobia, and B, play this decade-old game? Because I think this just opens the door for more of this shit, where every player truly believes that every developer should not only spend time listening to their specific problems with a piece of entertainment, but fix them as well. Cater everything to them. Not everything is for you.
Wait, who's asking everything to be catered to them? This was a single icon. Hey, please change this one icon. It's got a problem with me. Everything else in the game is perfectly fine. How is everything catered to them then? Who is arguing that everything needs to be catered to them at this point? I don't see how that's what's being communicated. If there's one thing, a tiny thing, that takes 10 minutes to fix and it makes your game an improvement for a chunk of a population, what is the actual problem? What are you bitching about?
And you have to understand that. If you're a picky eater...
Oh, Silvercop also points out this isn't a decade-old Final Fantasy problem. This is from the Sage class specifically, which is a new class that was added from the new expansion. This is not a decade-old game that nobody cares about. This is actually like the largest MMO in existence right now, as far as I know. And again, the class in specific is a new class. This isn't like an issue that nobody cared about for God knows how long, and then suddenly one person goes, hey, this is a problem, and Square goes, okay, we'll fix it now. They had to go track it down in a forum to find it. Like, no, this was a new thing. Okay, cool. Is the guy talking about triggers might actually just be triggered about trigger warnings? Yeah. Yeah, this is some real, like, poster child snowflake shit.
Eater, then you know there are restaurants you have to avoid. You can't go to a Michelin star restaurant and ask the chef to make items with or without certain ingredients.
Yes, you can. You can go to a restaurant, and when you are asking a chef to make your food, you can ask them not to do that. Like literally. I know this because I have been with a person in the past who had an allergy to specific things that are commonly found, especially in American restaurants. And we did have to ask them not to do things. We did have to ask them, not to actually put in certain things in certain dishes that might have had, again, like it even says in here, no tomato. Like that was the actual issue. Like you're not just going to, because your allergy, just avoid going out or avoid going anywhere. You'll go, hey, I want to order this food, but would it be okay if when I order it, you don't use some of the things I'm allergic to? Ordering a Supreme pizza and then saying, hey, I'm allergic to mushrooms. Could you maybe not put the mushrooms on the pizza? Yeah, cool. We'll just not put the mushrooms on the pizza. Like, that's really not a big ask. That's not a super big ask. Hey, I'd like my sandwich, but, I have a gluten allergy. Could you maybe use gluten-free bread? A lot of places, especially places that are like Michelin star restaurants, will probably have access.
They don't do that.
Will probably have access to that. Like, have you been to a restaurant before? Because apparently he's saying that they don't do that.
You go to McDonald's and get your McNuggets with no dipping sauce or whatever the fuck. Sorry, but that other experience is just not for you.
Wait, hold on. Did you really argue that restaurants will not change a dish when you ask them to change a dish?
They don't do that. You go to McDonald's and get your McNuggets with no dipping sauce. They Michelin-star restaurant and ask the chef to make items with or without certain ingredients. They don't do that.
Yes, they do. Like, literally. I would like a salad, but no tomatoes. I would like a pizza, but no mushrooms. I would like a burger, but no onions. Like that is a thing that you can do at restaurants. Have you eaten at a restaurant before?
You go to McDonald's and get your McNuggets with no dipping sauce or whatever the fuck. Sorry, but that other experience is just not for you. If you're a person who can't separate fiction from reality, or you have to equate every single fucking thing that happens to fictional characters to something that happened in your life, then there may be video games that you just can't play.
Okay, so the example he has here written in his own words, every character in a video game is a direct assault on me personally, and I can't separate fiction from real life. Please hold my hand through this entire game. Nobody's asking that. This is just another giant fucking straw man. Like, you're just engaging in gatekeeping because you want to be a dick. What is the point? Like, I'm sorry. Is it hard? Is it difficult for you to be this much of an asshole to people?
A game called Doki Doki Literature Club, which is a cutesy-looking dating sim that hides a psychological mindfuck within, had a warning that said, "This game is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed." They recently added a whole section where they'll spoil the game for you or have shit pop up before anything shocking happens to help you brace for it.
Again, how is that unreasonable? I'm sorry, there are scenes. I love Doki Doki Literature Club. I really do. I think that game is phenomenal, and it is a gaming experience that everybody should have the opportunity to play. I, personally, am not going to be the dickbag that gatekeeps Doki Doki Literature Club from people who might not have a chance to experience it because they have issues with seeing, say, suicide. Hate to spoil the game, there are characters in that game who commit suicide. If that is a thing that you cannot handle, then having a bracer before those specific scenes happen will allow you to still experience the game. As a game developer, it is your job to make a game in such a way that people who want to experience the content of your game can. And again, this is the same thing that happened earlier in the video, where he's saying, yes, it's optional, but what? Okay, so you put up the thing that makes this reasonable. It's optional. I can choose not to do this. If I want to be shocked by the game, I can be shocked by it. But when you bitch about a game having an optional thing that you have the ability to avoid, you sound like one of those elitist dickbags who gets mad that a game has an easy mode. Video game has easy mode. Why did they have to implement an easy mode? You should just get good! Accessibility is not a bad thing, my guy. There's literally nothing wrong with a game being more accessible for more people. In fact, from a corporate level, that's literally what you want.
What's the point then? Like, imagine if a horror movie paused to go, there's a jump scare coming up in 5 seconds. Please get ready for it.
Okay? This is not the same thing as a video game, though. Interactive media can have these stopgaps. A movie is not interactive media.
Oh yeah, that would make the movie much more fun.
This is the thing that he's having to do throughout the entire video, I've noticed, is he's having to pull examples from disparate media types, from completely separate scenarios that have nothing to do with what he's talking about, in order to make his point. I just find that kind of funny.
No, that first warning was perfect. That's all you need. The trigger warning should simply be, do you easily get triggered by things? Then this game is not for you.
This is just gatekeeping. This is literally just gatekeeping the video. You just don't... Like, at the end of the day, what does having one of those warning boxes in a game, that is optional, mind you, how does it affect your play experience? It doesn't affect it at all. But does it allow other people to engage in a play experience they might not have otherwise been able to get? Cool. Then you're just mad that... And hear me out now. You're just mad that other people are able to experience the things you like. And that upsets you. You're mad that there are people in the world who experience things differently than you. And when adjustments are made for them, it makes you angry. And that is pathetic.
Go play Stardew Valley. Although a valley is technically a very large hole, so maybe, I don't know, play a different game called Getting Therapy. Because I'm not saying your issues aren't real.
Yes, you are. That's exactly what you're doing. That is exactly what you've done. And even people who've gone to therapy still end up having issues getting triggered by things. Therapy can allow you to adjust to situations, but it doesn't cure you of shit. It doesn't fix the problems entirely. It gives you healthy coping mechanisms. But then when you experience those things and are not prepared for them, those coping mechanisms might not necessarily work. Coming from somebody who has gone through a year of therapy. Also, your argument basically involves somebody... This is what you're functionally saying. Make more money. Because there are people who need therapy but cannot afford it. If the only way that you are okay with people experiencing games is if they've already gone through therapy for their various mental trauma, then you are throwing the responsibility for things that have happened to people just right back on them. When, again, in many cases, all it takes is a single screen in a game to prep somebody for what might happen in it. You are arguing about a non-issue so that you can be the elitist asshole. That's what you're doing. You're being the Star Wars nerd who gets mad because there are people who don't know every single battle that's happened on Hoth after a particular battle on Yavin in a particular obscure year before the construction of the Hydean Way.
I believe that they're very real, and I'm sorry that bad shit has happened to you in your life.
No, you're not. Else you wouldn't have made this video. People who are actually sorry for the bad things that have happened in other people's lives generally don't make videos bitching about those people wanting certain accommodations to be made for them. Just my opinion.
However, it's not every entertainment creator's job to deal with those issues for you.
They're not dealing with those issues. They are just making their game more accessible for you.
Your job to deal with those issues. You need help if a boy who turns into a sword upsets you by hitting on you in a video game.
Hitting on you and stalking you and kidnapping you and experimenting on you are different things. It is amazing how fluid that goalpost is for you, Buckley.
But no, let's ruin every potential surprising plot twist in a game for everyone else in the world in order to cater to you, who now may not even buy or play the game anyway because they told you that you'll be upset by something in it.
Or, alternatively, the trigger warning will, as has historically happened, allow more people to play your game because they will be more prepared for the things that are in it. Accommodations do not make fewer people play games, unless they're dickholes like you.
Otherwise, I guess we can just go back to games with no story and graphics with no discernible features, like I talked about with Pac-Man.
So we have to go back to a straw man in order to get a straw man reality. Like, you've literally constructed like 3 different straw mans through the course of this video, and I just don't. But if that's the end of the video, then that's the end of me caring about it. Okay, Fox of Fate, thank you very much for redeeming your points for an ada, you fucking monster. So the thesis of the video basically boils down to, I don't like it when games put in excessive, or what I personally deem to be excessive warnings, to allow accommodations for other people to play them. Like that's what you're getting mad at. Something that takes 2 seconds to implement for many games, something that takes 1 second of your time when you actually play the game. This is a nothing burger. This is a boatload of non-issues, and you spent a bunch of time bitching about it to an audience of 500,000. Now, here's my problem, though. Because trigger warnings do help people not re-experience trauma when they are not actually prepared for it, they are a good thing altogether when it comes to video game media. They are a thing that help a lot in the realm of accessibility. So when you convince several of people in your audience that you're right, and that they should not have these trigger warnings in games, you end up having people engage in hate tirades in places like Twitter, and they will start parroting your arguments to people who are merely trying to communicate that there's an experience they have which is not necessarily shared by you. And therein lies my problem. Again, there's a difference between someone you don't like might hit on you, and in this game you might experience things like kidnapping and rape and etc. Like, these are very different ideas that are being communicated, and I don't see how it's so nightmarishly difficult for you to understand that. But I guess here's the point in the video where I throw it back to all of you guys. I know this is a longer video because I've noticed a bad habit of mine has been getting through about half of a video that I'm going through, and then not doing my due diligence on the rest of the video, because there might be some more in there that I need to talk about. But I notice that I've hit a point where I think the video becomes unwatchable, and I stop. So I'm going to try to make it a better point to get through more videos, even if it means that I have to do 2-parters on some things. Oy, oy, oy. Prince Morgan, thank you very much for redeeming your points for an oh well. But with that said, let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. Did you enjoy the argumentation that Buckley was giving, or do you think that my points held a little more merit? Let me know your experiences, your thoughts down there. With that said, if you want to support the channel and what I do, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button over down in the down there area. While you're there, though, maybe consider going to the Patreon, maybe consider checking out the merch store. And, yeah, with all that said, follow over on Twitch if you haven't already. And as always, everyone, thank you for watching, and insert into video tagline here. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. If you want access to behind-the-scenes content for the channel, please consider checking out my Patreon. I do weekly vlogs over there where I give real-life updates to what's going on behind the scenes on the channel, stuff that you don't really get over here and even on Twitch. Patreon also helps the channel's stability a whole lot. Without Patreon, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. Especially with the kind of content that I do, neither YouTube nor Twitch are the most stable sources of income. If you are a $20 and up patron, then you will be featured on the ending slides as shown in the beginning of the end credits. If you want to catch the streams where all this content comes from, then consider heading over to Twitch and following. And if you want to continue watching over here on YouTube, maybe consider clicking one of the end screen videos. And once again, I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me over on my channel. I wouldn't be able to do literally anything that I'm doing over here on YouTube without each and every one of you. So, thank you.